Mr. Director, you and the FBI, working with state and local law enforcement officials in Utah, have caught the assassin of Mr. Charlie Kirk. Is that right?
We have a suspect, yes, sir.
And you did that within 48 hours, did you not?
33 hours.
33 hours. Congratulations. We've had other political assassinations. Back in June, an assassin assassinated Representative Melissa Hoffman, Mr. Hoffman, Senator John Hoffman, and Mrs. Hoffman in Minnesota. You and the FBI and Minnesota state and local law enforcement officials caught the assassin within 48 hours, did you not?
I believe that timeline's correct, Senator.
Congratulations. Sometimes we miss the forest for the trees. Good work. Did Mr. Kirk's assassin act alone?
As I've said since the beginning, Senator, it is very much an ongoing investigation, and I can't speak to the state charges. That's for the state to address on their own, but we are providing them with the same investigatory findings reporting the department. And as I noted to Senator, I believe it was Cornyn or Hawley, that there are a number of individuals that are currently being investigated and interrogated, and a number yet to be investigated and interrogated specific to that chat room. So we are very much in our ongoing posture of investigation.
So others could have been involved?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I asked you this last time you were here. Kash, you remember Mr. Peter Strzok and Ms. Lisa Page?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Strzok was an FBI agent. Ms. Page was an FBI lawyer. They were both very aggressive anti-Trump political activists who allowed their political opinions to affect their work at the FBI. Is that a fair statement?
I believe their text messages and their testimony that was secured by the OIG and DOJ speak for themselves.
In fact, Mr. Strzok and Ms. Page were having an extramarital affair, and at one point, Ms. Page texted Mr. Strzok, quote, "Trump's not ever going to be president, right? Right?" And Mr. Strzok replied, "No, he won't. We will stop it," end quote. Ms. Page resigned from the FBI. Mr. Strzok was fired. They promptly sued the federal government and the FBI and Justice Department for releasing their emails, which revealed all of this. The FBI settled that lawsuit for $1.2 million, gave Mr. Strzok $1.2 million cash, gave Ms. Page, who resigned. She wasn't fired, she resigned, she quit. Gave her $800,000. Who, if the FBI made that decision to give them money?
That settlement was reached in the Biden administration when my predecessor was the director.
Who? Are you saying that Chris Wray did?
The only people that can decide that settlement are the Attorney General in conjunction with the director and the administration.
Okay, so you're telling me that Attorney General Garland and Director Wray decided to give them the money. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
The spectacle of a Senate hearing often feels like a carefully choreographed play, but every now and then, the mask slips. What we saw between Senator John Kennedy and FBI Director Kash Patel wasn't just a typical back and forth. It was a forensic battle over the legacy of institutional corruption and the desperate gatekeeping of the Epstein files. Kennedy, with his signature slow-roll interrogation style, starts by softening the room with praise for recent FBI wins, catching the Charlie Kirk assassination suspect in record time, only to pivot sharply into the dark underbelly of the Bureau's past. The first major red flag for any viewer should be the discussion on Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. Kennedy lays out the numbers. $1.2 million for Strzok and $800,000 for Page. These aren't just settlements, they are historic markers of how the previous administration handled internal political bias. Notice Patel's body language here. He is sitting upright, unflinching, and quick to name Attorney General Merrick Garland and former Director Chris Wray as the ones who signed the checks. This is Patel telegraphing a total break from the old guard. He isn't protecting his predecessors, he is actively hanging them out to dry to establish his own credibility. But let's talk about the coached moments. When Kennedy asks if the Biden administration politicized the FBI, Patel gives a classic non-answer answer. He says he won't speak for others, but refers to his own targeting during Russiagate. It's a clever rhetorical move. It validates the criticism without technically violating the agency's policy on commenting on specific past administrations. It's a legally shielded way of saying yes, without saying the word. Stick around, because the next 5 minutes of this hearing contain the most high-stakes exchange regarding the Jeffrey Epstein client list we have seen in years. Patel reveals exactly who, or what, is standing in the way of total transparency. If you want to stay informed on how your government is actually being run behind the headlines, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications.
Okay. Now, when you took over the FBI, did you find instances of where, under the Biden administration, the FBI had weaponized the agency to push the political beliefs of President Biden?
Sorry, the last part.
When you took over the FBI, did you find instances of where the Biden administration had politicized the FBI to prosecute its political agenda?
Well, I won't speak for other people. Haven't been a target of that weaponization, haven't been a staffer on the House Intelligence Committee, having had the Justice Department weaponized against me for making the findings and leading the investigation of Russiagate. I know what that feels like. And that's why, as the FBI director, I'm committing to not ever have that ever happen again. But I'm also committed to fully investigating what was done. And that matter is still ongoing.
So I assume, I take it your answer is yes.
Yes, sir.
And you're firing those people, is that right?
Anyone that politicizes their job at the FBI will not work at the FBI.
Okay. You've heard some of my colleagues either implicitly or otherwise suggest that you have politicized the FBI to prosecute the political beliefs of President Trump. Is that true?
I don't know how that can be true when the stats that I cited, to include the 23,000 arrests, 6,000 weapons seized, 1,600 gang and criminal enterprise organizations, 4,700 children found and rescued, more enough fentanyl seized to kill a third of America. The men and women of the FBI are now on an apolitical mission, and this is why the numbers are historic.
Have you fired people because they voted for Vice President Harris?
I don't ask people who they vote for, and neither does the FBI.
Okay. But you've given people polygraphs, have you not?
Many people in the FBI take polys.
The FBI does that all the time.
Yes, sir.
Does it not?
Yes,
For
sir.
a long time, is that correct?
Decades.
All right. I want to ask you about the Epstein files. Have you seen the Epstein files?
I have not reviewed the entirety of it myself, but a good amount.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that Mr. Epstein trafficked young women, including, in some instances, minors, for sex to himself?
That was specifically the allegations in the 2018 indictment in the Southern District of New York.
Okay. Who else did he traffic these young women to?
In terms of what the investigation, again, going back to 2008, Mr. Acosta, who limited the investigation and limited the search warrants and limited the parameters of the investigation, the only thing we are able to speak to publicly, because he was given a non-prosecution agreement by Mr. Acosta, is that first time period from, I believe, don't quote me on this, 97 to 2001-ish. And then when the Trump administration courageously reopened it.
Excuse me for interrupting, but I'm going to run out of time. You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information.
Now, we get to the heart of the forensic patriot analysis, the Epstein files. When Kennedy asks who else Epstein trafficked women to, the room goes cold. Patel's response is a masterclass in the limited hangout. He claims there is no credible information in the files regarding other high-profile individuals. Think about that for a second. We are talking about a man who operated a global network for decades, and the FBI director is saying the files are essentially empty on co-conspirators? This is where you have to read between the lines. Patel isn't necessarily lying. He is revealing a deeper rot. He blames the 2008 non-prosecution agreement by Alex Acosta for hamstringing the search warrants. He even snorts at the mention of the timeline. This is a forensic cue. He is frustrated by a legacy of intentional incompetence. The investigation was designed to fail from its origination. Patel also admits they are fighting 3 different court orders to release more information, and judges are turning them down. This is why this matters to your privacy and safety. It proves that even with a willing director, the deep state isn't a person. It's a web of legal technicalities designed to protect the powerful.
None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one
For the information that we have
in the files.
in the case file.
Okay. Now, President Trump has deferred to the FBI and the Department of Justice with respect to the Epstein records. He says it is your call about releasing them. And I understand that the department and the agency have decided to release them in cooperation with the House committee. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you're releasing them a little bit at a time. Is that correct?
We're releasing as much as we can, but we are limited by 3 different court orders, and the department went back to each of those judges to waive those court orders or have them lifted, and each of those judges declined.
Will you release all of them, or at least as many as you can?
We will release everything we are legally permitted to do so. We are continuing to work with the House on the subpoena request. We have substantially complied with it, but we will continue to release whatever we are legally permitted to do so.
Okay. I strongly encourage you to do that. Kash, this issue's not going to go away. And I think the essential question for the American people is this. They know that Epstein trafficked young women for sex to himself. They want to know who, if anyone else, he trafficked these young women to. And that's a very fair question. I want to know that answer. And I think you're going to have to do more to satisfy the American people's understandable curiosity in that regard.
Mr. Chairman, may I just respond to that? I agree, Senator. And what we have done, and just to remind folks, the Epstein case files existed in the 2 prior administrations, in the Obama administration and the Biden administration, and they didn't release anything. And there was President Trump in the first administration that renewed charges against Mr. Epstein. And I know it's a little complicated to understand, but what exists in the Epstein case files was a direct result of the limited search warrants from 2006 and 7, which hamstrung future investigations because of the non-prosecution agreement. And multiple administrations had the opportunity to look at the entirety of that case file and recommend prosecutions against anyone that was trafficked under Mr. Epstein and anyone that participated in that trafficking. And the only person to bring charges was the prior administration against Mr. Epstein. Now, I am not saying that others were not trafficked and others were not involved. What I am telling you is that based on the information we have, and we have continuously and publicly asked for the public to come forward with more information. If there is, we'll look at it. But based on credible information, we have released all credible information, and the information that the Department of Justice and the FBI never releases is information on investigations that are not credible. And we don't release the names of victims who weren't credible But in the same time, we don't release the names of victims who were credible. And so that's by law. And so the information we are releasing now is historic, and it is also to the maximum capacity that the law allows. And I know that's not going to satisfy many, many, many people. But if they wanted it done right, then the investigation from its origination should have been done right. And he should not have been given a get out of jail free card to do jail on the weekends for 12 hours a day. And he should have been investigated fully for the entirety of his crime and criminal enterprise, not just from 1997 to 2001.
If the government can hide the names of traffickers behind court orders, what else are they hiding about how they monitor your bank accounts or your digital footprint? Kennedy's closing is the most human part of the transcript. He doesn't accept the "it was done wrong in 2006" excuse. He tells Patel that the American people have an understandable curiosity that isn't going away. He's right. This isn't just about true crime. It's about whether the U.S. justice system is a dual-track system where the wealthy get jail on the weekends while everyone else gets the book thrown at them. Patel promises to release everything legally permitted, but as we've seen, legally permitted is a very narrow window in a room full of people who want to keep the curtains closed.